Hey guys, I'm Jose and welcome to this new tutorial of Maya modeling. So we're gonna learn a few tools to repeat geometry and then how to combine and connect and bridge this geometry together, right? So let's start by just shift right clicking, and you see that if we don't have anything selected we get this nice, again, context specific like menu to create geometry, right? So I'm gonna get a polycube. Actually, I'm gonna just delete that. I could create a polycube, but I want to just do a polyplane, really, right? So let's do a polyplane, and I'm gonna press 5 just to see that. So the first thing we're gonna do is just press our hotbox. So let's see, what we want to do is just modify, edit here. So we want to go to duplicate specials, right? We could duplicate this object by pressing Ctrl D, but what we want to do is just duplicate special. That will give us some options, right? So let's go, and we're going to start off by just resetting the tools, so resetting settings, so we start in the same page, everybody. And let's see what this tool does, right? So if I just press apply, I would get a copy of the object on top of itself, right? So it's just a simple duplication. So I can delete that. Let's try some options here. We could say, well, in Y I want to move it 1 unit, so let's say that, right? So you see that I'm creating a copy at a certain distance, but I'm undoing that, so I can try it again, and you can see I can determine number of copies, right? So I could say 5, and you can say that I can get a series of copies of this element, right? So I'm undoing again and just gonna try a few things. So what about maybe rotating some of these guys a little bit in like 20-degree angle, right? So you see that I'm starting to get this kind of sequential rotation, right? And what if I also add a bit of this direction is set, so let's add maybe 5 units. Get that. Let's put -5, and then we get this, right? So we're getting something like a stair, right? So that's so good. Let's leave that for now. So in a way, that's the array tool. If you're familiar to something like 3D Max, you can see that we are arraying or creating like a collection of elements. Each one of these guys become an independent piece of geometry, right? So what we want to do now is just, well, first of all, I would like to see these guys in wireframe shaded mode. So you see that they have a wireframe unshaded, and now I can actually come here, shift right click, and press combine, and you see that they will become part of the same geometry, right? So now if I pick them, I'm basically picking the whole thing. They are still kind of individual elements, right? But they're part of the same piece of geometry. So what I'm gonna do now is start looking at some options of how to join these guys together. So I'm gonna shift right click, and I'm gonna use this append polygon tool just to start. So it's gonna show me this, highlight the edges, and it will give me options. So you see that if I click in one edge, we have these kind of massive pink arrows that are showing us what we could connect. And if I click in this other edge, I could start marking where I want to connect the geometry, right? So I'm going to say that's fine, and press enter. And you see that the geometry has been connected. If I press 3 to get the smooth version mode, you see that it's smoothing it like well. So that means that everything, like this new polygon, the vertices are joined, you know, like the whole polygon is working, right? So I could go ahead and just try to repeat that operation for all of them, and then just go to append. See that I kind of did a mistake there. There we go. If you click somewhere else, you can always press delete to go back one step, and you see that I have already selected this edge, and I get to select this other edge again, and that's fine, right? So that's a neat way of just starting to connect geometry. Let's see another one, which is the bridge tool, right? So if I go into edge mode, I could select the two edges that I want to connect, and I could shift right click bridge, right? But this one, we will go into kind of this box area in which we could actually select some options, right? So I just want to make sure that we start again with the same options. So if by default, bridge actually has 5 divisions, right? So I can just click apply to see what we get, and you see that the connection this time around creates 5 divisions, right? So that could be something that you want to do, but in my case it's not what I want to do. So I'm just going to undo that, and I'm going to remove that divisions to 0, right? Because I like to add my divisions myself whenever, like by inserting edge loops, right? Instead of just like doing it the way it's provided. These divisions are pretty good if you are using this. We probably can do an example of that. A bridge between two elements that are in a smooth way. So the bridge could be used as smooth path, even a smooth path plus a curve, which becomes a control curve for such connection. So let's see it in a second. But first, I want to show you when could this tool go wrong, right? So one thing I want to make you aware of is that these faces are facing in one direction. That's called the normal, right? So if we go here into display polygons, face normals, right? So display polygons, face normals, you can turn on the normals of the faces, and you can see that these polygons here are just having their normals pointing down, and there's everything is in a way facing upwards. But maybe by some reason your geometry, like let's go into face like this guy, maybe your normals, I'm going to go into the normals, and I'm going to reverse the normals. Just could be flipped, right? I'm just saying that in case you're modeling something around and maybe you're not aware, maybe your normals are facing the opposite direction. So if you do this now, you can see that the connection, like this point has been connected over there, and this point has been connected over here. If we smooth it out, you see, like, technically it's trying to fix this thing, like it's trying to connect the faces the way they go, but that's maybe not what you're looking for, right? So if you get this problem, just check your normals. It might be exactly that, what's actually producing the problem. So I'm gonna undo that. I'm gonna go again into face mode, click the face, shift click, hotbar, normals, here reverse normal, you can see, right? And then I can just go back into my edge tool, select, apply, and that's fine. So let's go into face mode, and I'm gonna just move this one somehow and rotate it as well a little bit like that, or maybe move it here. So you see that now this face, it's facing that way, and it's just somehow a little bit further away from this other section here. So I'm going to go back again into edge mode, and I'm going to pick these two edges, but this time I'm going to just say smooth path. And if I keep it in division 0, you see that the bridge is going to work the same way we kind of done it before. But let's add maybe 3 divisions, and let's try it. And you see that it's trying to connect them somehow. It's supposed to be almost working. The problem is that we have some rotation there. Let's try maybe 10. And you see what it's trying to do, right? It's trying to connect these two faces. The problem is that it's kind of getting stuck here in this area here. So we could go again into this face mode and maybe just rotate this further down, something like that, just to help it out a little bit. Let's try now, and you see that that works. And it's trying to make a continuous connection between what could be the smooth transition between those two, and that's pretty handy sometimes. If we want more control, we could also say, let's see what we get with taper 0, right? The taper, it's gonna have like a little area that is kind of, it's a percentage, right? So it's like a 60% in the middle of the total amount. So 1 means that it's continuous, right? And if you want to maintain some of this sharpness, again, what we've been doing before, it's you have to just work with the insert edge loop tool, right? So you see that if we add a little sharp edge here in each one of these steps, when you do the smooth version, you see that this area here gets quite soft, but when we added this kind of edge loop, it gets sharp. So it's good to start understanding how adding extra edge loops actually can help you make detail in your geometry. For instance, here maybe I want to just do this sharper, and it starts becoming something like a stair, right? In which we could control this like this, and you see that we have something like a stair. It's looking pretty good. One of the things that it's also kind of that I get a lot of questions about, it's if you go into face mode and you select everything, right? So you're selecting every face. You can shift right click and extrude faces, but if you just click on this button here, and again, let's reset the tool so it's kind of you could work with thickness here. So you could say 1, and let's try applying it, and let's see what we get without this transition. So 1 seems to be too much, right? So let's try to reduce that to 0.2. Apply. And you see that what it's doing, it's actually extruding each face on its normal. Like if you try to extrude them just straight away, like without this box, without the dialog box, you will have to just basically drag with the gizmo, right? And you might, it won't work along the axis of each face facing different way, right? So in this case, if you work with the thickness and maybe, right, you start creating a geometry that should be working on orthogonal, like you can see it maybe here, it's more clear, right? You can see that all these faces are being extruded perpendicular to the normal, right? Let's try a little bit of offset, that could help. So 0.1 as well. The offset would actually make it a little bit to the inside. You can do much more offset as well if you're interested. And like the only moments that it's not really working well is just the corners here, because it kind of it really gets some conflict. So, but let's leave it like that for now. So you can see how the thickness of this stair and all these areas here that are not so fine, we can just shift click again, insert edge loop, and maybe the edge of this side we want to just keep it crisp, similar to the other side. And we can see that now we have very nice looking stair, right? And so this is it for this one. See you guys soon.